Well, hello. I hope that's a good introduction because I haven't really done anything like this on here before. But because of a Facebook post I made on a RV Facebook group, it got some interest on seeing what kind of progress I got on a diesel pusher I purchased in the fall. I got it on the cheap. We're gonna put some work into it, and this video is gonna show you all about it. So if you're just joining in, I am a pressure wash guy. I do some snow removal here and some auto detailing. And I even post videos of unclogging drains, which the only one I've ever posted got 30 million views. And that's probably where a lot of you guys came from, which I appreciate that. And that was in my front yard. And I'm been asked a few times for like a part 2 of that. We can check on it. That'd be fine. So this is all about the diesel pusher. Let's check it out. Let's take it from the top. What is it? It's a 1993 Cobra Riviera. It's a Spartan chassis with a Cummins engine and Allison transmission. I always wanted a diesel pusher. I never really knew when the right time was gonna be. I don't know if there is ever a right time to purchase one, but fortunately, I found one on the cheap, and it was only 2 hours away, and we picked it up. So it's dated interior wise. It's a 93, but outside has been repainted 12 years ago. So if you're checking it out, it still looks pretty good. So this thing was 2 hours away. We were told it's been sitting for a couple years. It did start, it ran and drove, but being that it had been sitting, there was definitely going to be some maintenance needed to be done to be able to drive it. The owner of it at the time inherited it from a grandfather. So he didn't know enough about it to be able to test things out, make sure everything's running properly, get the generator fired up, use the stove, the refrigerator, plug it in, anything like that. So part of the good sale price I got it for was assuming that these were all gonna need to be gone through and that it may or may not be working. To my surprise, after some good cleaning, tearing some things apart, cleaning out propane injectors and things like that, new spark plug on a generator, and the list goes on. We got everything in working order. All of the plumbing works, the water pump, the septic stuff, and so far no leaks. So unfortunately, it wasn't gonna be easy just to make it home without a challenge. We made it to the highway about 20 minutes down the road, and right before I pulled onto the interstate, the temperature gauge spiked and we were overheating. I had my buddy following behind me, pulled it into the gas station and checked the antifreeze, which would have been a darn good thing to check before we left that guy's house. And there was none, no water in it. I don't know if it was just incredibly low or it didn't have any, but we put a few gallons in it, in the system. I had taken antifreeze with me to check this and top it off if I needed to before we left the guy's driveway, and of course, that wasn't done. The other thing I had with me was some fuel filters. I knew we were gonna be driving 2 hours. I knew it's been sitting for 2 years, so those types of maintenance things I brought with me. Somewhere between showing up, purchasing it, and driving away, none of that was done. And on the trip home, we needed both of those things. So we added 4 to 5 gallons of water and antifreeze to the system, brought the temperature down. We let it cool a little bit before we put it in. It brought the temperature down. We hit the highway, never got above 190, so it was great after that. About an hour and a half into the trip home, out of a 2-hour trip, it wouldn't pull hills very good. And assuming that it probably had some bad fuel in it or water in the fuel, I just kind of took it easy, and there was only about 20 minutes left on the trip, and there was only a couple hills left. The rest of it was just, well, and I just took the hills easy, only ran them in a 70-mile-an-hour zone, only ran them about 40-mile-an-hour, and got to my shop here in the parking lot, got underneath of it, opened up the fuel filter, and of course there was all kinds of water from sitting. Hopefully we didn't do any damage doing that, but I did a fuel filter change and then took it up the hill to my house, and it ran great after that. So far I've had it since fall. I've ran it a few times, haven't had any overheating, and I haven't had any more fuel issues. I mean, the thing's got all kinds of power. It runs really good. It starts right up, idles nice. So far in running condition, it's great. As soon as I brought it here, it needed cleaned up. It had some algae on it. The roof looked horrible. And the roof was one of the things I really wanted to do, especially having it here at my shop, and I can get it in the shop. So I power washed it outside, power washed the roof, which I actually wash campers all the time, and I would never power wash a roof. But this one, I wanted to try to get all that oxidation and algae, mold, mildew, everything like that. So I treated it first, killed all the algae, mold, and mildew, and then I actually put some pressure on it to rinse it so that I could reseal it. And that's already done. I'll show you that. So this thing looked pretty bad when I brought it in here. It was covered, algae, mold, and mildew. All of the vents, I pulled these off prior to sealing it, and they were all caked with wasp nests, algae, moss, things like that. Covers, pulled them off, oiled the electric motors for the fans for the AC, little maintenance, things like that. And then I got to sealing the roof. What I did was a 4-inch tape around the seams, and then a RV silicone roll-on, just 100% silicone product, and I did 3 coats of it up here. It's extremely sturdy. I don't know what the material is underneath of this, but when you walk on it, there's no flex at all. I clean a lot of RV roofs, and all of them flex. Some of them are actually really soft, and I don't like it. This one's like walking on a steel roof. So it's we made out pretty good on having this RV and how good the roof actually turned out. So that was one of the things that I was worried about. It did look really bad. Looked like it's never been sealed before, which is probably a good thing because it showed that there might not have been any leaks, but it definitely was ready for what I was able to do to it. So turned out great, and it's all done, ready for the weather. Okay, after I did the roof, I pulled out the awnings, and to my surprise, they actually looked brand new. And I think that's because they have this aluminum cover that they go in, and they probably see no weather at all. The straps that you pull the awning out with, I broke it, which on Amazon for $8, I got a new strap, and I bought one for both sides. Both awnings were in great shape, and both of the straps had seen weather, so they weren't very good. The next thing I did was had a window company come in and reseal the front windshields. The seal around them looked like crap, and I didn't know if they leaked or not, so it was a little bit of money, but they came and pulled both windows and resealed them, put new strips on the outside, and it's just one less thing I got to deal with. They're also coming back to do other windows. He just had to get the strips for them, but they're gonna re-weather strip these windows, the other ones, identical ones on the other side, and the back bedroom window. So that process worked out, but it definitely it was a lot of work for them. So I can see why it cost a lot of money, because it was pretty miserable. They had a crew of guys here. They were also doing the pickup truck over there for me. So this was all done in, I don't know, maybe a good afternoon. So the other thing I did before I really messed with the inside much is cleaned out the propane furnace. The gas tubes in there that wouldn't let it light because they were filled with like a mouse nest, as well as the hot water heater. So the hot water heater burns propane as well, and it was clogged from, looked like cobwebs. So once I cleaned them out, I put water to it, made sure none of the plumbing components leaked or anything like that. We flushed through the septic system, the gray water, which it was fine. It was already cleaned out, but I just wanted to make sure there was no leaks or anything like that. Nothing I'm gonna find out down the road one day. And everything else besides just doing some maintenance, like changing oil, transmission fluid, rear end fluid, things like that. Everything else just was gonna take place on the inside. I am gonna coat it with ceramic on the outside. I am gonna reseal these lights because it looked like there was a little bit of leak that come down in the front where the dash area is at one time. I don't know if that was anything that was recent. I haven't noticed any water when it sat outside for a couple weeks, but just things I'm gonna do. When it hits the road, I don't wanna worry about anything. I'm also changing the tires on it. I can put the jacks down and raise it up, pop the wheels and tires off, and I'm gonna take them to a tire shop and get new tread on it while it's in here. Being that this thing came in and only squeezed in by an inch, I'm hoping that these tires aren't soft and it sits lower. So if that's the case, I might have to air down the new tires a little bit to get it out the door. It does have airbags. I don't know how much air is in them. It could have had it up a little bit, but we'll find that out. Before we take a look at what's in the RV now, I want you to see what was in there before. Oh, when was this ever cool? Oh. Okay, so inside, we painted everything. It has a carpet ceiling. I didn't touch that. It has a wood parquet floor. I'm gonna sand it and reseal it with a tinted polyurethane. As far as the cabinets go, they were painted white. It took a lot of coats of primer after we wiped them down with liquid sandpaper and a couple coats of paint. It is like a little bit of an off-white color. We went with a farmhouse color range, and the walls are like a beige, a lighter beige, and it just has enough contrast that it looks pretty good. As far as the cabinet hardware goes, the hinges are an aged brass and the handles are a brushed nickel. I was gonna do both the same, and at the time the store didn't have the brushed nickel hinges in, but the hinges for the flip up cabinet doors are aged brass, and I wasn't gonna buy new ones because they looked great, and we had them all and just save a little bit of money. So I matched all the door hardware the same as the flip up doors. So as far as the hinges go, so all the handles are brushed nickel, all the hinges are aged brass. Other than that, the interior, there's other things that we did as far as paint the countertops, kind of like a navy blue, and polyurethane sealed them. It didn't turn out great. I can see my brush marks in the sealer, so I'm gonna sand it down and recoat that. Okay, let's have a look at those ugly countertops. So this is like a navy blue. If you look at it the right way, sometimes it even looks green. Then I did polyurethane on top of it. I brushed it. I don't think I used the right brush, and it looks a little bit streaky if you look at it good enough. If you see that piece of peel and stick backsplash, this is from the dollar store. It was literally $1 a piece. So I'm gonna cover the backsplash area with that and see how it turns out. If I don't like it, I can take it off. I'll probably only have like $20 in it, but just something to kind of break it up a little bit, get the wall color out from in between the cabinets and the countertop, and let's see how it goes. One of the cool things about this is there's a touch switch, which I'm sure a lot of them have. It shows you your propane level, your fresh water, your holding tanks, and your battery condition. I was told that the holding tank switch lights never work right, and I don't believe these ones do either, because they're empty and they're both showing almost full. So we'll see what's going on with that. The refrigerator area, the doors were painted with that same countertop color, as well as the countertops on the dressers back here in the bedroom, or little cabinets. I don't know if you can even call them dressers. If you're new to diesel pushers and you look in the rear where the engine compartment is, it's actually covered by a massive radiator that does not move without bolts. And so you look at it and say, how in the world am I going to work on that thing? Well, and I mean even as far as an oil change goes. So luckily you have a lot of access here on the engine with this bed cover lifting up. So it's on hydraulic struts, pretty nice, lifts up out of the way for you. I already did an oil change from up here. It's probably not ideal dragging all your oil and tools and stuff into the bedroom, but it worked out. It's messy in here right now, literally just under construction. But so there's a couple cabinet doors that go here. There's an actual TV that goes in the center, and on the sides were speaker grills, or speakers hidden underneath that green covering they had in here, which was ugly. So I took that off and found that there were speakers, which I didn't expect that. So I bought new speakers, and there's some in the bedroom as well. So I'm replacing those, and I have a new head unit that's going to go in here, but I'm also going to replace that instrument panel. So I have my buddy cut me out some pieces of aluminum that once I put the new speakers in, I'll cut the speaker hole in this, put them in, and then put the speaker grill over top. So that'll look pretty cool. And I have another piece of aluminum here that will make the instrument panel. So I'll have to cut a little bit bigger area out for the radio. The new radio is a double din, so you can do navigation off of it, or it just has a nice appealing screen to it. And then as well as replacing the rear camera. So when you put the thing in reverse, the rear camera comes on. I have a new screen and camera for it. So this thing's old school, it's black and white. I'm not a big fan of it, so that's getting changed. Also, the only thing left that looks like wooden here is those two things. I'm either gonna paint them white to match the cabinets, or make them aluminum like I'm doing with the speakers and the instrument panel. So we'll see. Haven't decided on that yet. The only other thing you guys can give me some input on, there was a little bit of soft spot there, and there was one over here, so we actually didn't paint that yet. So I'm gonna do like a chair rail, see a piece of something that looks like wood maybe, and do a piece of trim across it. I'm gonna do that all the way around on the walls. So I think that'll look pretty neat, and I'll do that everywhere. The other thing is the area where the shifter is and the parking brake, I'm taking that out, and I'm gonna do a new console there, make that fit the right way. I have a new parking brake for it. I might even put that up on the dash. Haven't decided yet. I'm gonna take the CB out. I don't plan on using that for anything. There's a exhaust brake over there switch for it that I gotta make sure that it's gonna work. I tried to use it on the way home from bringing this thing home, and it hasn't worked, so I'll check that out. But the front seats are pretty cool. They swivel around, they lay back, they do all that neat stuff. You can adjust the armrests. It's pretty neat. So one thing I'd still like to figure out is over top of the windows, there was, I don't know if you call them valances or covers, that kind of covered up the blind strings, drawstrings, and then the top. As well as the door in here had that green trim around the top. So I think I might try to take that green stuff off and put like a tan vinyl on and then reattach them. It does look okay without anything, but I would like to cover up the strings because I have kids. They'd probably end up ripping it out or something, and just make it look a little classier. It has the privacy blinds on it. where you have the darker shades or the lighter shades. That's pretty cool. But I would like to protect those because they look like a pain in the butt to replace and probably expensive anyways. There's like a million things that I replaced in here from Amazon purchases that add up from a little to a lot. I replaced all the lighting, the bulbs, not fixtures. I did replace a couple fixtures in the back bedroom. I did different little things here and there that, you know, a new knob here or on the new latches for the refrigerator doors. The sink's gonna get a new spigot. Anything that kind of looked like it could be updated or bought pretty cheap on Amazon, I picked it up. So this is what I bought for the floor. So it's this wood parquet. I popped all the register covers off. I want to do something a little darker. The last time I used one of these products, it came out way darker than what it looked like on the can. So if that doesn't work, if it doesn't look good darker, then I'm just gonna put vinyl plank flooring on. And instead of having the floating floor, I think I might just do the peel and stick and see how that works. And the fans, when I was on the roof cleaning out under the covers, I got all the fans working good, oiled. So it's ready for a road trip, almost. This thing actually hasn't been started in like a couple weeks. It's usually plugged in here and there, so it's getting power to the batteries, but let's see if it'll start. Nothing's mounted yet in our cabinets. You know, our generator switch, our water pump and heater, and then our battery disconnect, because we're still working on the cabinets. But there's your power. Sign one of these keys here. So it has air over hydraulic brakes. So there are air tanks on here, or one or two, I don't know. But they will make a lot of noise until the air pressure's up. But luckily this one builds it and it doesn't leak. Oh, she started. I think this thing would be interesting to see a part 2 of. I'm going to be doing new tires, finish the cabinets and everything inside, doing the new instrument panel, all that kind of stuff, putting a new radio in it. We'll probably do a new TV, things like that, just to make it a little more comfortable for the kids and on the road. All the safety things will be done. I'm going to check everything. The kingpins, the front suspension, the rear suspension. Most of the fluids have already been changed as far as the axle, the transmission, the motor. So that's gonna be about what will wrap it up eventually. I plan on using it in the spring and summer, mostly to go to dirt tracks for racing. But other than that, maybe a weekend family trip here and there. So if you're interested, you want to watch more, any questions, drop a comment. And also, if you have any suggestions on something I might have mentioned in there that I wasn't sure what I would do with yet, just let me know. So here it is. Thanks for watching.